Kuranga Kandara Kikire Hari Radha Vinod Vihari Radha Govinda Jaki Nitali Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahamsa Guruvacharya Aspatara Satashi Shinadabhai Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Nitali Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahamsa Guruvacharya Aspatara Satashi Shinadabhai Bhakti Vedanta Narayana Goswami Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Dali Vishnu Vishnupada Sthatir Satashi Srila Bhakti Vigyan Bharati Maharaj Ki Dali Vishnu Vishnupada Sthatir Satashi Srila Bhakti Vedanta Maharaj Ki Dali Vishnu Vishnupada Sthatir Satashi Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshala Goswami Maharaj Ki Dali Vishnu Vishnupada Sthatir Satashi Srila Bhakti Rakshak Shirate Goswami Maharaj Ki Dali Vishnu Vishnupad Paramahamsa Guruvacharya Sthatir Satashi Srila Paramgurite Jagaguru Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada Ki Mahabhagavat Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Shakti Goswami Satchidananda Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Vaishnava Sarva Om Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Shri Gauri Vedanta Acharya Srila Visham Prabhu Ki Shri Rasika Acharya Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur Ki Shri Narottam Shri Vashamanand Prabhupada Ki Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Rupa Shri Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Das Raghunath Shat Goswami Prabhu Ki Shri Sudhara Rai Randa Shri Gaura Parashad Vrinda Namacharya Shri Das Thakur Ki Prem Se Gaur Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudeva Shri Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Shri Navadvipmaya Pradam Ki Nanda Devi Ki Shri Nam Sankirtan Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Shri Radha Krishna Gopalupinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shrimati Devi Ki Shrimati Purnamasti Yogamaya Ki Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Gopishwarma Devi Ki Braj Dham Ki Madhavati Bhakti Janani Akanta Vrata Ki Jagannath Baladeva Subhadra Devi Surasam Chakra Chaitra Dham Tata Gopinath Ki Narsimha Bhavan Ki Bhakta Pravara Prahlad Maharaj Ki Nanta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Samagata Bhaktavinda Ki Shintai Gaura Premanande
Hari Hari Bol. Some kind of thing wrong on my screen. It keeps on having, it says font size 22 point. And I can't figure out how to make that go away.
Are you technologically?
In your signature Narita?
Yeah, on the folio program.
Is there like a menu bar for font size, or did you
So this is the very first iPad. It's the oldest, first one that came out. And yeah, I mean, I pressed. One second. Yeah, see that. Yeah, so, and then there's a little symbol where I can choose the font size, and I tried that already.
Have you tried just exiting it out completely and opening it back up?
Exiting what?
Just like closing it and reopening it?
The folio program.
Yeah.
Okay, let me try that. Let me try this.
Your Madhukar is one of the most frugal people I know. He's amazed. He goes, I can't. How do you keep technological devices more than 2 years? I go through it like every 2 years. It's the original iPad.
Yeah, they're designed so that you need to buy them every 2 years.
How do I close the program? just Chaitanya Charitamrita contents. It doesn't seem that there's a way of closing the program.
Restart the iPad.
Restart the iPad.
Like turn it off and turn it on.
Oh, okay.
That's the extent of my
Slide
knowledge,
power
just
off.
turn it off.
Huh?
So the extent of my knowledge is basically like, try turning it off.
Yeah, I've also seen how that does solve problems. So now I'm going to turn it on again. Okay, now it's restarted. Oh, Krishna, hey. I don't know why it does that though. So it's showing the apple symbol. It's not doing anything. Ah, okay, there it is. Okay.
Fix.
No, now I'm opening up the thing. Yeah. Now I'm opening up Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila, chapter 16. No, I don't see that little mask anymore. I'm trying to remember the verse number. Which verse? Sorry for this delay. Getting there now. Okay, fine, let's see. 70. Gurudev Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namah Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurudev Namah Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namani Gaura Trise Namah. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. For my Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipful beloved Gurudev, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Sri Srila, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. Then I offer my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipful beloved Siksha Gurudevs, Nitya Lila Pravishta, Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj, and Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Astatara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. I offer my Dandavat Pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupa Nuga Guru Varga, and I offer my Dandavat Pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Sorry for the 10-minute delay with our equipment. So, we're reading from Madhya Lila chapter 16, the Lord's attempt to go to Vrindavan. And yesterday we read how Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya were discussing about how Lord Chaitanya was encouraging Lord Nityananda to go to Bengal and to stay in Bengal and not come every year, because the world needs to be, especially Bengal at that time, needed to be delivered, and Mahaprabhu was now not going to be going there. So they had their intimate conversations, and so Lord Nityananda said, "O Lord, you are the life and I am the body. There is no difference between the body and the prana, the life itself. But life is more important than the body." And he said, "Achintya shaktye karo tumi tahara gatan, jay karaho jay kari nahika niyam. By your inconceivable energy, you can do whatever you like, and whatever you make me do, I do without restriction." So this is the mood of Lord Nityananda. So in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Nityananda Prabhu and bade him farewell. He then bade farewell to all the other devotees. And as in the previous year, one of the inhabitants of Kulinagram submitted a petition to the Lord saying, "My Lord, kindly tell me what my duty is and how I should execute it." And then Mahaprabhu told, "Prabhu kahe, Vaishnava seva, Nam Sankirtan, Dui Koro Shigra Pave Shri Krishna Charan." The Lord replied, "You should engage yourself in the service of the Vaishnavas, the service of the servants of Krishna, and always chant the holy name of Krishna. If you do these two things, you will very soon attain shelter at Krishna's lotus feet." What two things is Mahaprabhu telling that we have to do? Yeah. Is that a hard thing for us to remember throughout the rest of our life, every single day of our life? That we have to do these two things? Is that a difficult thing? What do you think?
It's difficult because Maya is always saying, come over here. But ideally, no, it's not difficult, it's very simple.
Yes. That's why Prabhupada said Krishna consciousness is difficult for the crooked and simple for the simple-hearted. Crooked means that you don't want to serve Krishna, you want to serve Maya. You want to try to enjoy separately from Krishna. So then it becomes difficult. The mind makes it difficult. So that's why we have mana siksha, instructions to the mind. And that's why so many songs of our acharyas, Rajahure Mana, Srinandanandana, all are there helping us to do what we're supposed to be doing. And what if we do it, then what is the fruit of doing these two things? Dui karo shigra pave Shri Krishna charan. Shigra pave means very soon you will get Shri Krishna charan, the shelter at the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada made it very simple. Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. But that's very true. It sounds very simple, and it sounds almost too simple. But anybody that tries it, they'll see, yes, I'm becoming happy. Yeah.
Speaking of Manashiksha and the mind and Maya, I was just flipping through a little book Govinda gave me, and was looking at verse 6 of Manashiksha where Gurudev Swami is saying, lust and anger and these other things might have gone, but still there's deceit and hypocrisy. So, I guess, just briefly, like, what is, where, like, how do deceit and hypocrisy appear in for the sadhak who's trying to practice bhakti? Like, what is that? I guess I have a hard time understanding what deceit and hypocrisy mean for someone who's trying to progress on the path of sadhak.
Well, it looks like we're going to have Manasiksha classes. Yes, and actually I've been wanting to do that, so now you've... Because if we read that verse and the purport, then it clearly tells. Not only that, it also tells there are 3 types of sadhaks. And this deceitfulness and hypocrisy, what is it called again? Kutinati. I'm forgetting. Deceitfulness and hypocrisy. Anyway, I'll look it up. So, how they manifest in 3 different types of sadhaks. And 2 of those types of sadhaks are householders, and 1 type is a renunciate. They manifest in different ways. But the thing is, it's in the heart. See? So, the whole Manasiksha is actually the instructions of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami to his own mind, but he's teaching us through his own instructions to his own mind. He's teaching us that in order to progress, we will have to gradually surpass these obstacles. But actually each verse also tells what the solution to each obstacle is. So, yes, we will have to refer to Manasiksha. Manasiksha. Okay, verse 6. Are cheta prodyat kapata kutinati. Kapatya and kutinati. Bharakara, that means the great donkey. Ksharan mutre snatva, that means bathing in the urine of this great donkey. Bathing in urine, that's not a nice thing, especially donkey urine. Cow urine, not bad. So, Ksharan mutre snatva, my dear mind, you are bathing in the donkey urine of deceitfulness and hypocrisy. And by doing that, what are you doing? You're burning me and you. Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Govinda Jai. Yes. Ksharan mutre snatva dahasi. Dahasi means to burn. Katam atmanam abhimam. Atmanam means myself, the soul, and you, the mind. Sadatvam. Now here's what he gives as the solution. Sadatvam gandharva giridhari pada prema vilasat sudam bodho snatva. He's telling you what to bathe in. Don't bathe in that. Bathe in this. Sudam bodho snatva swam api nitaram mam chasukaya. So in spite of having subdued the enemies of lust and anger, one may not have conquered the great enemy of deceit. Because that's deeper. Lust and anger, but deceit. This verse instructs us how to gain victory over this powerful enemy. O wicked mind, although you adopt the path of sadhana, you imagine yourself purified by bathing in the trickling urine of the great donkey of full-blown deceit and hypocrisy. And by doing so, you are simultaneously burning yourself and scorching me, a tiny jiva. Stop this. Delight yourself and me by eternally bathing in the nectarian ocean of pure love for the lotus feet of Sri Radha Krishna Juba. So now, Prodyat kapata kutinati barakara ksharan mutre snatva. Here, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, this is his commentary, he's breaking this down and he's saying, bathing in the trickling urine of the great donkey of full-blown deceit and hypocrisy. The overt deceit and hypocrisy that are present in a devotee, even after adopting the path of sadhana, they are compared to the urine of a donkey. Considering oneself to be intently engaged in bhajan while remaining devious and hypocritical at heart are like considering oneself pure by bathing in the filthy, burning urine of a donkey. A sadhak should carefully abandon this pitfall. There are three kinds of bhakti sadhak. Number one, parinishthita. Number two, swanishthita, and three, nirapeksha. The parinishthita sadhak completely discards the rules and the prohibitions prescribed within varnashram. This is explaining what is the position of each one of these sadhaks. So this parinishthita sadhak completely discards the rules and the prohibitions prescribed within varnashram, and he endeavors incessantly simply to please Bhagavan Sri Hari. Listen, the Swanishta sadhak performs all his activities in accordance with the rules and prohibitions laid down for the service and the attendance of Bhagavan. Both these types of sadhaks are householders, grihastha. The nirapeksha sadhak is a renunciant. All three are benefited only when they become thoroughly honest. What are they benefited? When they become what? Thoroughly honest. Otherwise, by resorting to deceitfulness, they are surely vanquished. The hypocrisy demonstrated by these three is described below. So first, the parinishthika sadhak is the way in which deceit is demonstrated in that person's lifestyle. there's it looks like there's about 5 or 7. A, indulging in sense enjoyment on the pretext of sadhana bhakti. B, serving wealthy and influential materialists instead of unpretentious devotees. C, accumulating wealth beyond one's needs. D, having great enthusiasm for futile, temporary enterprises. E, indulging in illogical arguments on the pretext of cultivating knowledge. F, adopting the dress of a renunciate to get material prestige. Those are the symptoms of parinishtika sadhaka and his kapatya and kutinati. Number 2, deceit of the swanishta sadhak. A, making an external show of strict adherence to rules and regulations, but remaining inwardly attached to material subjects. B, preferring the association of philanthropists, mundane scholars, yogis, and materialistic people to that of resolute, loving devotees. That's the Swanishta Sadhak. Only 2 items there. And the third has A through G. Deceit of the Nirapeksha Sadhak. A, maintaining pride. Remember, this is the renunciate one. Maintaining pride by thinking oneself to be an elevated Vaishnava. B, adopting the dress of a renunciate and due to false ego regarding other sadhaks as inferior. C, accumulating wealth and materials beyond the basic necessities of life. D, associating with women on the pretext of sadhana. E, keeping close contact with materialistic people with the intention of collecting funds and donations instead of going to the temple. F, worrying about collecting funds on the pretext of performing bhajan. G, enfeebling one's attachment for Krishna by attributing importance and respect merely to the external dress and symbols of the renounced order, and by being overly attached to the rules and regulations of renunciation. Therefore, the defects of kutarka, means mundane arguments, false philosophical conclusions, kusiddhanta, and anarthas, impediments to advancement, all arising from deceit in the domain of bhajan, have been compared to the urine of a donkey. Many sadhaks consider themselves purified by bathing in this unholy urine of the donkey of deceit, but in reality, it only consumes their soul. The next section is telling about bathing in the nectarine ocean of love for the lotus feet of Sri Gandharva Giridhari. What was your question or point you were going to? Okay. Anything?
Thank you. That sometimes these words like deceit or hypocrisy, when you think of sadhana, seem sort of like just such a broad term, but here Bhaktivinoda Thakur is so clearly delineating it, and it becomes very clear like where that deceitfulness and hypocrisy come
Right.
from.
And you know the song written by Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Dushtamana Kishar Tumi Vaishnava. He has directly based that song, and he's pointing it out in all the shlokas, on Manasiksha. That's a very, formidable formidable challenge because it becomes so subtle that one is thinking, this is the whole point that Raghunath Das Goswami is making, that one actually becomes deceived by his own deceitfulness. And he thinks, oh, I'm getting purified. But in actuality, he's completely wallowing in disgusting, contaminated substance. Huh?
Why am I remembering something? Because when you first began, I thought that that it was this subtle desire for pratishta, that if you're outwardly appearing that you want to cultivate that pure love and consciousness of the divine couple, but actually there's something stronger, which is actually the desire for recognition, that is somehow,
That's the next shloka in Manasiksha.
Oh, okay. So
you see each one of these shlokas, there's 4 in a row. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj said, these are like weak enemies. They can be somewhat easily defeated. That's what we also saw in the beginning portion of the translation in parentheses. But Pratishta is a very formidable enemy. That comes after this. So what is the first verse of the song of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur? Pratishta Shagore. With your desire to get Pratishta, you want to go and chant in a solitary place, right? So the thing is, see, this bhakti path, and especially because this is Rag Marg Bhakti. Manasiksha is how to enter Raganuga Bhakti, okay? So it's very subtle. One has to address these shortcomings and these inability to give these things up. Because sometimes they're very difficult even for the sadhak to notice. But we can see, if we analyze what we just read, all these different symptoms and different ways in which deceitfulness arises in the different types of sadhaks, we see, oh yes, I've become influenced in that way, you know. So here, actually there's only one way to go beyond that. And that's why Raghunath Das Goswami is now going to tell us. And now you have to learn how to bathe in the nectarine ocean of love for the lotus feet of Sri Gandharva Giridhari. It will not go away by trying to purify it. It will not go away. So the next verse, so anyway, for this section, then there's just all these beautiful verses describing, O Vrindavaneshwari Shri Radhika, the complexion of your limbs is like molten gold. Your eyes are as charming as the restless, elongated eyes of a doe. Your face defeats the brilliance of millions of moons. You are gracefully dressed in a blue sari, the color of a fresh cloud. And it has the Sanskrit. This is from Srila Rupa Goswami himself is praying in this regard in the Sri Prarthana Padati. That Gandharva refers to Srimati Radhika, who is the internal potency, the Swarup Shakti of Bhagavan. Giridhar refers to the Supreme Person, Brajendanandan Sri Krishna, who is the possessor of all potency, Sarva Shaktiman. One is here advised to bathe in the ocean of nectar that consists of Vishuddha Chit Vilas, or divine spiritual transformations born of love for the lotus feet of the eternally youthful divine couple. So Sri Rupa Goswami himself prays in this regard in his Sri Prarthana Padati, part of his Stavamala. Shuddha Gangeya Gaurangim Kurangi Langi Mekshanam Jitako Tindu Bimbasyam Ambudam Varasamvritam. Just the sound of his poetry is so beautiful. I read that translation. Navina Ballavi Brinda Damilotpula mallikam, divya ratna dyalankara, sevyamanam tanushriyam. This is why the Mayavadis, the impersonalists, the yoga, they can never become purified. Because they don't bathe. They have no connection with this purifying divine substance of, because later on, toward the end of the Manasiksha, then Raghunath Das Goswami is also saying, I will drink 5 types of nectar. And then he designates what those 5 types are. So here, now Rupa Goswami is saying to Srimati Radhika, you are the crowning garland of jasmine flowers on the decorated braided hair of the young gopis of Braja. Your limbs are splendidly adorned with divine jewels and other ornaments. Vidagda mandala gurum guna gaurava manditam ati preshta vayasyavir ashtabir abhiveshtitam. You are the best amongst all the elegant and dexterous gopis. You are ornamented with unlimited transcendental virtues and eminence. You are surrounded by the 8 principal Sakhis who are most dear to you. Chanchala panga bhangena vyakuli kritakeshavam goshtendra sutajiva tu ramya bimbadaramritam. You agitate Krishna by your compelling sidelong glances. The nectar of your beautiful bimba fruit lips is the life-giving elixir for Brajendra Nandan Sri Krishna. Tvamaso yachate natava vilutan yamuna tate kakubir vyakula svanto jano vrindavaneshvari. O Srimati Radhika, rolling on the ground by the bank of the Yamuna with an agitated heart, I humbly appeal to you out of despair. Kritagaske pyayogyepi jane smin kumatavapi dasya dana pradhanasya lavam apyupapadaya. Even though I am an offender, unqualified in all respects, and having crooked intelligence, I beg you to make me fortunate by bestowing upon me even the smallest service at your lotus feet. Yuktas tvaya jano naiva dukkito yam upekshitum kripa dyota drava chitta navanitasi yatsada. O most merciful one, it is not fitting for you to neglect this anguished person, for your butter-like tender heart is always melting with compassion. Then he quotes 3 verses. In his Radha Madhavayor Nama Yugashtakam, in the Stavamala, Sri Rupa Goswami has written, Radha Madhavayor Etad Vakshye Nama Yugashtakam Radha Damodaro Purvam Radhika Madhavo Tata. Now I will sing this prayer that consists of 8 verses glorifying the names of the divine couple, Shri Radha Madhava. First I will sing the praise of Shri Radha Damodar and then of Shri Radhika Madhava. Vrishabhanu Kumaricha Tata Gopendra Nandana Govindasya Priya Saki Gandharva Bandhavastata. Srimati Radhika is Vrishabhanu Kumari, the young daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and Sri Krishna is Gopendra Nandana, the son of the king of the cowherds. She is the dearmost friend of Govinda, and he is the dearest friend of Gandharva, Srimati Radhika. In the last verse, Nikunjanagaro Goshta Kishora Janashekaro Vrindavanadipo Krishna Vallabha Radhika Priyo. She is Nikunja Nagari, the heroine of the groves of Braja. And he is Nikunjanagara, the hero. She is Mukutamani, the crown jewel of all the graceful maidens of Braja. And he is Shiro Bhushana, the head ornament of all handsome youths. She is Adistatri, the presiding goddess of Vrindavan, and he is Adishwara, the presiding chief. She is Krishna Vallabha, the lover of Krishna, and he is Radha Vallabha, the lover of Radha. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I will live in Braja with great love, glorifying the names of my beloved divine couple, and remembering their eternal eightfold daily pastimes, Ashtakaliya Leela, within my heart. And by doing so, O mind, when will I be submerged and cause you to become submerged in the nectarine ocean of the variegated manifestations of love for the lotus feet of Sri Gandharva Giridhara? So this is the negotiation tactic with the mind. Give nectar and invite. The first verse of Manasiksha is inviting, my dear brother mind. Right? And I'm holding onto your feet. Please give up all pride and just develop a rati for Sri Guru, for the holy Dham, for the residents of the Dham, like that. So, the seventh verse is the formidable one. And I'm going to tell you that when Gurudev arrived in Los Angeles, stayed his first night down there in Fullerton, and went on his first morning walk in the West Coast, he sat in a park a few blocks away. And then, what did he bring up? This verse. Pratishtasha drishta swapacha ramani me hridimatet. He brought up this verse. Why? Because this verse is the most difficult thing for the conditioned soul to give up. And how is it possible? Only one way. Only one way. It's right there in the verse. Sadatvam. This desire for pratishta can be given up only in one way. Sadatvam sevasva prabudayata samantam atulam. What does that mean? It means, therefore always remember and serve the immeasurably powerful commanders of the army of Sri Krishna, the beloved devotees of the Lord. And they will at once banish this outcast woman of the desire for pratishta, and they will initiate the flow of immaculate Braja Prem in your heart. This is the only way. It's not possible for the conditioned soul, and it's so subtle. So it's not possible. We see it all throughout the whole Bhagavatam, how the great demigods, Indra and even Brahma and so forth, they become deluded, right? Because of this. So, in this way, Manasiksha is to be drunk. This nectar is to be drunk. You want to say?
It's nice though, because you can see in this verse how it ties in, of course, to that instruction of Mahaprabhu, serve the servant of the Vaishnavas.
Yeah.
Jai Hare Krishna. That's also the remedy here being given for
Yes. Yes.
British.
Yes. It's not possible without serving that level of personalities, fully, completely surrendering your entire heart, your whole life energy, everything. Then they can accomplish this. You cannot do on your own. So we had a little short Manasiksha session, but now that's inviting us to continue and drink more nectar and understand very clearly what is the necessity when one is attempting now. That's how Gurudev says in the introduction. You can read the introduction. This is now the attempt to enter into that pathway. And without this, never possible. 11 verses, and then the 12th final verse. Gaur Premanandi. Jai Shri Manasiksha ki Jai, Shri Raghunath Goswami Pada ki Jai, Shri Rupa Goswami Pada ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamritam ki Jai, Jai Gaur Premanandi. Shri Ekadasi Titi ki Jai, Madhava Titi ki Jai, Ekadasi Palan Gauri Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Vancha Kapatudascha Kripa Sindhu He Vacha Vidanam Vaishnavi Namo